Hey Scott, good
Hey, Prashant.
to yeah, good to catch up with you after a long time. This is our reunion episode, and we are going to kick off from uh, this episode onwards. A new format, a new structure. Me and Scott have had a bit of back and forth, finalizing a few things of what will be good for the podcast, and finally, we have a loose format, and we are excited to share. What we have come up with, Scott.
Hey, Prashant. Yeah, good to be back again. Good to be chatting with you again. So, yeah, let's just get straight into it. Hey, what do you got?
Cool. Yeah, so Scott, I have this thing. If you see the notes that I've made for this week, I have this thing which you can see, which is titled as Unoptimized.
Yeah.
And Unoptimized is probably just a word that I've taken from a podcast that I was listening to a couple of weeks back by one of my favorite authors called uh, Derek Sivers. And the concept of unoptimized being living an unoptimized life, as in having very less things to plan out with. So on this podcast with Tim Ferriss, um, which is the Tim Ferriss show, it is, I think so, one of the top 10 podcasts in the world, the personal brand podcast in the world. Derek Sivers goes on, and he shares this. He shares this beautiful story of he and his son. They take a train from Oxford to London, and he tells his son that it might rain, it might not rain. He's unsure. So he tells his son that you know um, okay, if it's raining, we are going to go to the museum, and if it's not raining, we are going to go to the zoo. His son said, okay. So once they got to the central station in London, they walked out, and his son looked at him and said, Dad, I don't want to go to the zoo or the museum. What do you want to do? He said, let's just walk around. Derek said, sure, yeah, okay, let's do it. And they walk around and they walk around, and he sees this a small bunch of Croatian kids playing on the park benches, and they have a little tickling match. And a bit later into the street, he finds this his son finds this huge cardboard box that is as big as him, and he fits himself inside that cardboard box and walks like a robo on the streets with the cardboard box around him, and people taking double turns and looking at him, astonished and amused and having a laugh. And uh, uh, they spend an hour just wandering around, and then they end up in a Western musical concert called Wicked, and they check if there are tickets available for the show, and then the ticket master says that there are the last two tickets available, and that's right in the center of the eighth row. So they watch the musical. As they're watching the musical, the son looks at Derek and says, Dad, I really like that girl sitting next to me. And after some time, when Derek just peeps over to see what his son is doing, his son is holding the hands of the girl. And that was a beautiful moment that he captured as a father. And all those beautiful things happen. And when they go back home, and when they reach home, the dad asks the son, did you have a good day? So the son says, I had a great day. So Derek says, all right, so what was your most favorite thing today? And the son says, the cardboard box. And just hearing that, he melted, because that's the point where he realized that so much of planning we do in our lives, so much of optimizing we want in our lives, so many things have to be perfect, organized, and um, we want our best, or rather we want the best for our children, and want that best experience to be passed on to us also, witnessing those good things our children are experiencing. But in that moment, he realized that life needn't be optimized, it has to be unoptimized. And through the story, we learn the limitations of the planning in life, and what new information, new experiences, what it can do to change who you are and where you are in that moment. And this is one story that really stuck with me once I got through that podcast. And even in that podcast, at this particular moment, Derek really gets emotional, he while talking about this experience, such a simple and such a naive experience. I really felt amazing about it. What do you think of this style of living?
Yeah, it's lovely. Hey, yeah, it just makes me think about my kids and stuff as well, and the amount of planning or the amount of stuff that you tell them to do. You got to do this. No, don't do that. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. You get in their way all the time. And I
Yeah.
like as a dad, I don't know. I can't speak for mums, but as a dad, you kind of feel guilty about it.
Mm,
Afterwards,
mm,
you shouldn't be doing it in the moment, but afterwards, you're kind of like, man, I should just let them do what they want to do because they find joy in anything, like you said, like a cardboard box. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, do you want to go to the zoo or do you want to
yeah.
go to the museum? And for us, it's like,
Yeah.
that's awesome, the museum and the zoo. But for them, they're just like, I just want to hang with you. I just want to
Yeah.
fit inside a cardboard box, and that's have the best day of my life.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah, and it
Yeah,
happens so many times with us also, where we get maybe a toy for a kid, and the kid opens the toy from the box and sees the toy, finds it amusing and plays it for a while, and all after you're visiting the kid's room after an hour, the toy is in one corner of the room, and they're playing with the box, the
yeah,
cardboard box that it
yeah,
came in,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
so so these kind of little things, I think so, it adds a little checkpoint to our expectations of things being right and things being um, perfect. And this particular story, it really resonated with me. Just use your intuition, use
Mm,
your, I would not even say your parenting instinct at that moment. Use your human instinct at that moment, use your
mm.
human intuition at that moment, and just let the water flow, see where it goes, see where it takes you.
Yeah, perfect, man. That's exactly. I think it's that sort of unknown, isn't it? That sort of scares the shit out of us. It's kind of like
Yep.
if we don't plan something, like how are we gonna sort of navigate things? And like you said, if you
Mm.
just trust that compass on the
Yeah.
inside, the internal compass, that's the way. Because funny you should be saying that too, because that's the last few months. That's where I've been as well. Um,
Yeah.
for me, it's kind of like been chasing the spiritual thing. I've got to have it, must be spiritual. Got to do my practice, got to do my meditation, got to do this, got to say that, got to fit in. And yeah, I think it really resonates where the last few weeks, I've just gone, do you know what? I just got to drop it. And the more you chase it, the further it runs away, right? Like, and there's nothing to get. And so it doesn't matter for how long you sit down and meditate. It doesn't matter for how long, I don't know, you talk the talk or you're in the jargon and the lingo and that kind of stuff. It's not going to get you any further. And so that kind of that sort of, I guess, moves me to the point on my topics, right? Where number 5 here is Rupert's Spirit Chat, and it's
Mm.
basically about this, right? And so for those who don't know, Rupert Spira, he's Spira, maybe. I think it's Spira or Spira. I think it's Spira, actually. Sorry for the mispronunciation, but it's Spira.
Yeah.
And it's a short little 3.5 minute talk. And he's got talks on all things spiritual. And so I think, I'll probably fuck it up, but his background is in the Vendatas. So
Mm.
he what do you call it? He was taught through that sort of tradition and whatnot, and so he's kind of come to his own place of enlightenment, and he's just kind of sharing it with people now through all these talks and whatnot. But basically, he is talking about what I just talked about. So in the beginning, you start on that journey of trying to reach the source. I've got to be spiritual. I've got to be this. I've got to be that. And so you meditate. You sit down, and you've got your mantra, and you're doing your yoga, and you're doing your this, and you're doing your that. You can probably hear my kids in the background now screaming.
Yeah, perfect.
So I do have a family.
Yeah.
But yeah. basically, you sit down and you're a good student, you do it all, and you're fantastic at it, and you're reaching all these goals. And he's just saying, all that is just your ego. At the base of it is the ego, and the ego wants all the time. It wants to do.
Mm,
It's never satisfied with being here and now. So it's always seeking. It's always seeking. It's always doing this. But that's also a process, right? So you got to go through that. And you sort of get to, once you've exhausted that, after who knows, could be years, could be minutes, could be hours or whatever. But once you've exhausted that, you come to this place where you just sort of like, you just drop it, you let it all
mm,
go. Because what I'm finding is I'd read the books, I'd listen to the podcasts, I'd
yeah,
do all the research and all that kind of stuff, and all I'm doing is I'm taking bits and pieces of other people's lives
yeah,
and other people's techniques on how they've trod their
mm,
trod their path,
yeah,
and you go, okay, I'll take a bit of that and I'll put it onto me, and it's not you, and so
mm,
you just, at the end of it, you're the only person who can tread that path. You're the only person who can, sorry, excuse me, who can walk it. And my dad always said, actually, he just a simple phrase. It was like, you live and you learn. And only over the last couple of weeks have I gone, shit, like there's so much in that like simple two-word phrase, you live and you learn, because living is a spontaneous act, right? So
yeah,
things happen. You can't plan it. Like you said, you can't plan to go to the zoo or plan to do this with your kid. It's like,
mm,
I can't plan my action or reaction or whatever. So it's a spontaneous action, and then you learn from that, and that's all it is. That's treading your own path. So yeah, like if we can show a bit of that clip or whatever later, or just set a link up, it's really profound. And
mm.
yeah, it's definitely one to have a look at, and it
That's
resonated with me, like
that's
what you said there. So that first thing that popped in my head was like, oh yeah, that Rupert Spira, and then I'll chat about that. So
you know what,
what do you think?
Scott, when
Yeah,
you were mentioning this, one thing that really hit with me is, it's true, we live so many people's lives in our single lifetime, right?
yeah,
We as grown-ups, the first set of people that we live the lives of are our parents, then probably a few traits or a few characteristics of our grandparents, then our friends, then our siblings, then our our colleagues. And we are in a constant uh, perplexual mode throughout, trying to figure out uh, you know what is the right way to do it. And then with that question, we probably ask a friend, or we look up a book, or we watch a video, and then we find that answer, and then we figure that that's the right answer. We try practicing it, and all we know that that is not the path. And then we say that, no, I should have done this. And that constant um, quest to keep searching, keep discovering, I think so that eats up a lot of our emotional energy also. And it becomes a lot confusing, not just for us, but for the little ones also, and more
mm,
importantly for the spouse also. because
yeah,
because today we say, on the 20th of next month we'll be doing this, we'll be planning these 5 things because I believe in it, very strongly. And
yeah,
come 15th of that month, you say, no, I don't think so we should be doing that, because many things have changed. I think so we should drop the plan.
mm,
And then gets into the it gets into a unnecessary friction, which, if your partner does not understand you, or does not make an effort to it's
mm,
mutual. If both don't understand each other, then it gets into a unresolved issue that boils up much later, probably in a public setting, or probably in front of your kids, and then it turns out to be very nasty. So that's it, Scott. The other day I was watching this one medical doctor, and he had this uh, a simple two-liner nugget of wisdom. So he asks the audience, like, what is the best way to what is the best way to ensure that um, your kids are mentally strong, what do you think, Scott, the answer should be? Or what do you think the answer will be?
To ensure that our kids are mentally strong. Was
Yeah,
that, sorry, that's
yeah,
what you're saying,
yeah,
yeah?
yeah, yeah.
What is the best way to ensure they're mentally strong? Well, I don't know. I guess just to act, I guess, and rather than talking about it, just be what you're thinking or be what you say you are. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, again, this is closely linked to the topic that I started out with, and the topic that you shared
Mm,
about with Robert Spider. Um, it is the answer is, teach your kids to solve their own problems. Do not solve their problems.
mm,
The
yeah,
kids
yeah.
should learn to solve their own problems. And I think so we both have discussed this in a different way, in a different context, in our much earlier episodes. We
Mm.
have discussed this.
And it's
But
hard. It's
the
hard, right?
yeah the wisdom, the wisdom that's shared here, it's very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard to practically impose in some really challenging situations.
Mm,
um, but I think so it is the most practical uh, um, piece of wisdom that was shared by this doc, and it's not proprietary to that doctor or whatever. It is the golden standard of
yeah.
parenting, or forget parenting. It's the golden standard of being a human. You solve your own problems, figure out, because
Yeah.
the eureka moment that you're going to get as you resolve the friction that you're going through
Mm,
will make you much stronger, rather than you being spoon fed with nuggets of wisdom, and so many books, and watching so many movies, and again, probably walking the path that we as parents walked. We do
mm.
not want our kids taking even like 50% of the journey that we took,
Yeah.
because our time and space was different.
Yeah.
Today kids are growing up to be much smarter. They have got technology spread around them,
Yeah.
where they get access to anything and everything within seconds.
Yeah.
So empowering them to take the best decisions, and helping them or giving them ideas to resolve their um, uh, their problems, I think so,
The
is going to be an
challenges,
asset.
yeah.
Yeah, what do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. Oh, totally, yeah. And look, like I was saying before, it's hard, especially when you're tired. Like, at the moment we've got little Louis coming into our lives, and he's 6 months or going on 7 months soon. And there's just not sleeping so well, and so you've got Violet as well, his big sister, who loves him so much, almost too much, and so it depends, I guess it's proportional to how many kids you got. So,
Yeah,
you know, you do your best, and you do your best
yeah,
in the moment, right? And
yeah,
that's all you can do. But I think also too, the important thing is to not beat yourself up if you're not doing it. And
yeah.
so, that's almost worse in a way. It's like, oh God, I haven't let Violet do X, Y, Z on her own, and you start beating
Mm,
yourself up. It's not going to help anyone.
yeah,
And it's a part of parenting, and that is a part of living and learning too, right? And so you've just got to be like, right, if you can, you get that little bit of awareness to say, right, okay, didn't happen this time, but next time I'm going to try and let her do whatever it is on her own to try and figure it out, And so
mm,
we try our best within reason, and as long as they're not, hurting themselves and all that kind of stuff, you do your best, right?
yeah. So, Scott, what else have you got? I see some very interesting
Yeah,
things in your topic list. What else have you got?
dad reflexes. I reckon we should go into that next because you know Reddit,
Let's
right?
take it up. Yeah.
Yeah, so Reddit, it's a great little platform there, and they've got some fantastic little videos and stuff. And I found this. Let me bring it up. I found this fantastic video, or it's a channel
Hmm.
called Dad Reflexes,
Oh,
and
okay.
so yeah, it's all these videos of dads doing amazing acrobatics of saving their kids when they're in trouble, right? And so there's this one video that just cracks me up all the time, and it's they're in the snow, right? There's this family in the snow, and there's this dad who's somehow, right, he's running up a hill and there's
Hmm.
two kids. He's got his two kids, and at the top of the hill, coming down the hill, is this kid on a toboggan or a sled or whatever, right? And so this kid's hurtling towards these two kids at breakneck speed, like a bowling ball about to take out the 10 pins, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
dad sees him and he starts running
Okay.
after his two kids, grabs the first kid in the left arm, hoists him in the
Hmm.
air, grabs the second kid in the right arm, hoists him in the air. The kid, meanwhile, this toboggan's coming straight at him, about to take him out, and somehow he jumps in the air, splits his legs, and the toboggan goes
Oh
through
my
his legs.
God.
Yeah, it's like superpower. It's
Oh
absolutely
wow.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah, and
watching the
so,
video. Oh, this is insane.
have you seen it? Yeah.
Oh, I'm just watching it. Oh, this is crazy.
Amazing, right? Look, it's just he's to spot that danger at the top. He spotted it a mile away.
Oh
He's
my
gone.
God. Oh my God. That's crazy.
So
I I
have
wouldn't
you
be
ever
able to do
had
it, Scott.
anything? No.
With my athletic state, I would have just squatted on the kids, whoever were there, flat.
I would have been
You
taken
know?
out like a 10 pin bowling, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
have you ever had anything like this happen?
Uh, not
Not exactly like this, but have you had
not
a moment in your life where
I would
after
have
a
there have been little occasions where you know I have been a bit daredevilish with my little one, with Adira. So when she was growing up, where my parents and my wife and my sister used to say, keep her in the center of the bed, or so that she should not fall off, or just make sure things are padded around her if she's playing on the floor, so that she does not bang and hit her head. So I used to I used to take that advice, but not like 100%. I used to like being a bit adventurous. I really loved playing with my reflexes also, and I think so. That's very instinctive. That's some kind of a weird itch that dads have, to
mm,
show their reflexes for their kids.
yeah,
So there have been times where she was she was sitting and having a milk or a juice, and she's in middle of a sleep, and she's trying to doze off, and she would fall back, and before she bangs her head on the floor, my hands just slid in
sliding
and
out.
held her, yeah,
Yeah.
held her head. So there have been occasions like that. But looking at that video, Scott, I think so I
Oh
would have
man.
ran the opposite direction and just made myself safe.
I know, just try and bundle the kids over or something,
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I
Because
had
that's very
like,
risky at the same time.
oh
It's
man.
very risky at the same time. Yeah.
But like if you got kids who are runners, you know what I mean? They're like
Mm.
running to the and suddenly you're like, oh, you turn around for 1 second, they're gone. And then you got to do that. You got to try and pull that out
Yeah.
of the bag. But
Yeah.
I had a similar
Did
thing the other way. I
Oh.
found this. I saw this video, and like a week later, Louis
Mm.
playing on the couch with Violet, right? And
Okay.
Louis just started to sit up now on his
Mm.
own,
Mm.
and
Oh.
so we've had him on the couch, and Violet had some sort of mat underneath as well. And so I'm like, well, I'm over in the kitchen. I'm looking
Mm.
at this going, oh, probably should take that mat away, but I've got to do something first. Anyway, looking through the kitchen, and then suddenly I see Louis start to topple forward. I'm like, run in, ran straight over, and just dove and grabbed him just before he hit the ground. So I like slid in and caught him. Not so much like what happened here, but I was like, thank God I got his head. Otherwise that would have been pretty nasty, knock on the head.
Oh, that's pretty crazy. Now, when you're saying this, I remember, when my sister was born. Um, the very first day that she was born, that she was brought out of um, the theater, the operation theater, and placed on the bed next to my mom. So at that moment, the lapse by someone from the staff and the timing, which was not right, something happened. And you won't believe, Scott, the first day my sister fell from the bed, the first day,
Oh no.
the very first day. And I learned about this much later, and I really um, still feel sad about it, that I
Mm.
was not there as a elder brother to save. I would have been like 8 years old at that time when my newborn sister was there. I still feel bad about it, that I could have been there to save her. But let me tell you this: there had been an occasion once where so I could redeem myself many years later. What happened is, maybe 7 8 years from now, back from now, um, we had this um, hot water geyser, in our house, and the geyser was shared between two bathrooms. So when one
What's a
person was
geezer
taking a
again?
shower, geyser is the device which is used to heat water for taking showers,
Ah,
like for
yeah,
hot
okay,
water.
sure. Yep, yep.
uh, and in India we had this like a gas cylinder that was connected to it, which used to heat up the water. It was a sophisticated device. I don't know how it even got approved and legalized. It was very dangerous. I'm getting to the point of why it was dangerous. So this geyser was shared between these two bathrooms, and I had to go to office, I had to go to work. And my sister, she stepped into one of the bathrooms. So like as I told you, when the geyser is being used, you cannot use the geyser in the other bathroom. So this person has to come out, then you change the taps and push the water into the other bathroom. So it was that kind of
Yep,
a thing. So and my sister is known to be like a dreamer, and she still is. So when she used to
yeah.
go into the washroom, she used to sing, and she used to like go into this merryland, into a mystical world, and she used to take like 40 minutes to come out of shower, that kind of a very exhaustive, very extensive, lavish shower.
Yeah, it sounds
So on
very
this
lavish.
so on this particular day, she steps in, and after 30 minutes I start knocking as a reminder. I say, Preeti, come out. It's time. I'm getting late. I have to go. And um I don't hear a single drop of water into like in the bathroom. Neither do I hear her respond to my call. Sometimes when she's annoyed, she does not respond to me. She says,
Yeah,
screw, I'm not going to respond to you, like
yeah,
you're
yeah,
like the bully, I'm not going to
yeah.
respond to you. So she does that sometimes. So I thought that maybe she's playing the fool and she doesn't want to respond to me, but I was adamant. But
Mm.
then, Scott, something really, like I told you, my intuition just like shot up straight. And uh, in that commotion, what was there in my house, my mom was playing something in a computer, on the television something else was playing, so it was pretty noisy. But in that commotion, I could hear something that was so scary for me. I could hear my sister breathe, and I could hear my sister take the long breaths of like she's gasping for breath, that kind of a thing.
Mm.
And I got scared. I didn't know what to do, and I'm calling her, calling her, calling her. She's not responding. Luckily, we had one of those um, not so
Because the
very
door's
well
locked,
made
wasn't it?
bathroom doors. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, the door was locked,
yeah.
and it was not this wooden doors, but it was one of those fiber doors. And
Okay.
Scott, believe it or not, in that moment, my instinct and my power, you know it rose up to the maximum. I was like Hulk at that point. You won't believe, I punched straight into the center of the door. The door broke open, and there I saw my sister lying unconscious in the bathroom.
Oh.
And that visual still shakes me. It still puts me to tears, because if I had not been there at that moment, anything could have happened. Then we pulled her out, and I had to give her a CPR.
Mm.
I had to try to restore her to life. Then we took her to the hospital, and she was given this oxygen kind of a treatment, which was there for
Mm.
like 24 hours. And then she was not 24 hours, maybe like 12 hours or something, and then she was discharged later in the evening. So yeah, so this is
Oh,
my heroic
scary.
moment. Definitely
Yeah,
not
what?
like sliding and picking up kids under the snow, but this is my what do you say, this is a moment that I'm really proud of.
Oh,
And my
man.
sister is like my child. I really
Yeah,
love
yeah.
her, and I really adore her. So this is my This
And
is my
she would
crazy story.
be, you would be her everything now. You know what I mean? You
Oh
saved her
yes.
life. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, we share a crazy bond. Like the mongoose and the snake, always fighting. But when it comes
Right.
to, but when it comes to
Yeah.
matters of the heart,
Yeah. Yeah.
we are inseparable, and our love is very pure and naive at the same time.
Yeah. Amazing, man.
So, so that's it, Scott. I have this one thing. Like I would probably like to end with, and maybe after that, maybe you could share one of your nuggets. So,
Yeah.
2 days back, I was at school to pick up my daughter, and we had these set of people, all the fathers huddled up with their kids playing in the park, and we all are talking about random things. And so one of the fathers became a father for the second time. So we congratulated him and all that stuff. And so we asked, was it a boy or a girl? And he said it's a boy. And in this huddle of fathers, there were like three of us were Indians, and the others were localites, two of them were Canadians, and one, I'm not sure the origin. um, so one of my Indian counterpart fathers asked this other Indian father, saying, "Are you happy that it's a boy child? Did you want a girl?" So he said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm happy. It's a boy child." And the Canadian father was like, he was like confused. He giggled and he was like, what is this conversation? Why won't you be happy with the child? So then I looked at him. I knew he was confused. I told, this is a very Indian thing, because dads from India, or Indian dads, they really aspire to have girl children. They really want girl child, and because
Okay.
the
Yeah.
bond that they share is like amazing. And it's a very weird Indian thing. I don't know. It might this kind of a phenomenon might exist in other parts of the world too. So I was explaining this to him. So this particular gentleman went on to explain the thing, that it's very scary of him to think having a girl child, because when they grow up, there are so many risks involved, there are so many pressures involved, there are so many stress points involved. So I said, I told, I'm very clear about my parenting thing. I will keep her safe and secure till 18. Once she's 18, it's up to her and all that. I started sharing that wisdom. So he said, you know what, I want to share a funny story. I said, what is that? So he said, uh, the first girl that he dated, he went to pick her up for a date night, and when he was in the car, he parked the car outside her house and was waiting for her. In place of she coming she coming into the car, the girl's dad the girl's dad shows up with a huge gun pointing at his face.
Oh no.
And he just stands there, and this guy is frozen. He can't do anything, he's like
Yeah.
he's
Petrified.
what, yeah. And you can't run over the dad also, because for obvious reasons. so
That's right.
so then he goes on to say the father was just there to show his macho-ness, and probably give a statement that don't mess with my daughter. So, and probably that was the last time probably he dated her also. I don't know. I didn't go on to ask, because we had to get back home. But that was
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
funny snippet from a real person's life that we heard. I've seen these scenes in movies, but for
yeah.
me it was really amusing to hear it firsthand from a person who experienced it.
Oh man, I think that's kind of like every dad's kind of, I guess for us over in Australia, it's not like people like dads aspire to have girls, but it's also like if they have girls, they want to protect their girls, and it's like, all right,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to do what I have to do to protect my girl, and if that's having a gun pointed at his face to say, hey, take care
Yeah.
of my girl, then that's what's going to happen. Right? I remember the first time I met Charlotte's parents, I was
Mm.
petrified of meeting a dad because like it's his daughter, it's his
Yeah.
baby girl, and so and I was thinking I'm going to get that talking to. Never got that talking to. It was fine from the get go, but yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? You sort of want to protect them too much, and I guess it's more because males know, you know what I mean? Like being a male, you
Yeah.
kind of like what males think and what they do, and so therefore you're like, I'm going to be a little bit more protective, I think, in this instance. What do you reckon?
Oh, but it's I see. See, Scott, the world is changing so fast. It's not the time that we grew up in, and things are changing. Probably, um, uh, um, other smaller cities, smaller towns, smaller places will eventually catch up to what these so-called advanced cities and states or countries are experiencing. It is essential for parents to um, give two things to kids. That is, give them the freedom to choose, and also give them the knowledge and education, and let them know that if anything goes wrong, they always have us as a point of support, or as us as a point of contact for anything that they need in
Yeah.
life. And
Yep.
that's all. These two basic things, if we communicate with our kids, I think so most of the
Yeah.
troubles can be avoided. Rest, the good and the bad, it's all subjective. What
Yeah,
is good for
exactly.
us might be bad for our kids. What is good for our kids might be bad for us, because they are experiencing life in a different way than we are. So
Totally.
setting rules laid down by our own life experiences that we experienced as children of their or as similar aged as they are right now, will not be uh, practical to impose on them.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll only lead to more problems for us. So you give them the freedom to
Exactly.
choose, let them
Yep.
choose, but give them also the education to choose wisely. That's all.
Yeah, Prashant, I totally agree with that. Hey, because you know, if you're not going to let them live their lives, it's only going to come back to haunt you later. They're gonna turn around and be like, you didn't let me do X, Y, and Z, so I'm gonna
Yep.
rebel. And so
Yep.
I know for me with Violet, she's strong-willed, man. And I know that she'll be able to look after herself, and so
Mm.
I kind of feel sorry for the guys that are going to be with her because she's going to be telling them what to do. I can tell you that right now. And I'm like you. I'm very similar to you. Whereas I'll I'll be sort of giving her, I guess, like some sort of advice. It's like, look, here's things that happen for us in a day. Here's what to look out for. We're here if you need us. You know what I mean? Like, but you got to live your
Yeah.
life, and you got to go out there and do what you got to do.
Yep. Awesome. Scott, do you have
Mm.
any parting words? Do you have any more um, cool things to share
Well,
before we wrap up?
no, it'd be good. It'd be good to have a bit more sleep. Um, little Louis,
Yes.
little Louis, God
Yes.
love him. He's so cute. He's just so cute that you
Yeah.
can't stay mad at him. But he's just an awful sleeper at the moment, and like that's one of the other things too with Violet. It's like when you have a second child, you sort of it's not good or bad, but it's just you notice the differences in them. And so,
Mm.
with Violet, she's just such a good sleeper from such a young age, and she still is a really, really good sleeper. And it's like, Louis, man, please come on, give us some more sleep. So you got to, he's up multiple times of the night, and and I thank Charlotte so much as my wife because
Mm.
she takes the brunt of it, getting up and,
Yeah.
and helping out during the
Yeah.
night because I've got to get up and go to work. And so you kind of get used to that sleeplessness. I don't know if you remember, it's probably
Oh
etched out
yes.
of your memory now. Well, you do. Yeah,
I do
probably
remember.
you probably
Yeah.
can't you probably can't release it, right?
You
But
can't release
you
it.
get up and you're groggy and you just go to work, but you deal with it, and it's
Mm.
just this perpetual tiredness. And
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to that to end. I love them both. I love them all so much, but I would love some more sleep. That's my parting words.
Super cool, Scott. I think so. This reunion episode was really a breather for
Well
us.
overdue.
Yeah, well overdue, and this new format also, it makes us uh, what do you say, much more into being ourselves, rather than
Yeah,
trying to follow probably a template that what the podcast listeners might want, or and I
yeah.
like this format. What do you think? Do you enjoy this? Did you
It
enjoy
was
the
great.
conversation today?
Yeah, I
Awesome.
loved it,
Super.
because it was like we don't know where it's going to go. It's like, okay, so what
Yeah.
have you got? And I'm looking at your list here and I'm going, gunpoint on a first date? What the hell is that? What happened to Prashant? I'm thinking maybe you got a story from, when
Yeah.
you first met
Yeah.
Ash as well, So, and then unoptimized. I'm like, is that even a word? Like,
Yeah.
so it's good. I love it. I think it
Awesome.
works really well.
So all you beautiful people who have been patient with us for all this while, and who have been waiting for us to put an episode out, even if you're one person or hundreds of other people who have been waiting, firstly apologies for taking this break, but now since we are back, I think so we are back with a bang. Let us know if you like this episode, if you like this format, if you want us to improve. Let us know. The best way to let us know is by leaving us a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to,
And
and
what do you
we
think
shall
also too,
catch up.
Prashant, about, sorry,
Yeah.
Prashant, before we go, what do
No,
you think
no.
about
Yeah.
any questions or anything like that listeners want to ask, or if they've got any
Mm.
experiences or whatever too, put them forward
Yeah. Yeah.
on whatever channel. Is it a Facebook?
Yes.
No, it's
So
how
we
would
will.
they?
So this would come out on a YouTube channel, so they can drop in the comments and leave a
Great.
question. This should be on Instagram too. So y'all will find clippings or short snippets of our conversations. Y'all can leave comments. Y'all can throw your compliments or complaints or sarcasms or whatever you want.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
fine, because it does not matter to
Yeah.
us, because we love what we're doing, and we are really happy to share the little wisdom, or the little experiences that we have learned in these last so many years, and especially in the last 3 years, by doing our own spiritual work, by doing our own grounding work. And that is why this podcast is named as the Aligned Dad, where we are trying to find our own inner alignment. So thank you, Scott, for reminding that. Uh,
Thank
so
you.
great. We shall catch up with you next week. Ciao.
Thank you, Prashant. See you guys.